What? Good evening, everyone.
He always says the funniest things right before he presses play. And it's like I'm supposed to sit in here act like you didn't say anything funny.
I didn't say nothing. I'm just sitting here.
You used the word boop.
Yeah.
You booped it.
It wouldn't come on, even though I booped it.
Well, that was funny.
Hopefully
It's like
you'll...
we went straight live.
Yep, we did. That's a good thing. It's like when you accomplish what you're trying to accomplish, it's not a bad thing. Oh, goodness. Now let's share everywhere. Share. What? Gonna be weird
Nothing.
again.
I'm still not over the booping.
Uh-huh.
People are gonna think we lost it. Maybe we never had it.
I'm like, you have to have some first before you lose it. I hope everybody's week's going okay.
Well, my week's going fine.
It's been a little crazy.
It's almost over for me. It's weekend.
Yep. Been all over the place
I
this
get
week.
to sleep in tomorrow. I'm thankful, grateful, and blessed for that. You got to get up and go to work.
Yep. At least I can go to work.
True. That's another thing to be grateful for.
Oh, give a few minutes for some people to join us. We came in a little early just so that everybody could join us.
If you're not in Denver City, this is Denver City's homecoming week, and tonight is our homecoming bonfire.
Yep.
So we're a little early, so we have time to go home and round up the kids and go to the bonfire.
Yep. That's the big thing tonight.
It's always fun. I love the bonfire.
Yeah. It starts out small and then accelerates and gets huge, and we all have to back up and try to miss the prairie dog holes.
That sounds like the Grinch. It started out low and then it started to grow.
Pretty much, I guess. We are coming into that season.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
So, it's been a week. We're sorry. Things beyond our control just happened, and we couldn't go live until now. We've had I feel like a death in the family. I know she wasn't actually blood, but she was our neighbor, and we loved her, and it hurt us yesterday. We were very sad. And so just a lot of things have happened this week between homecoming week and school and kids and
yep,
you name it. I feel like it's hit us.
Yeah, everything's been happening all at once.
I feel like a truck just pulled up to our house and dumped a load of bricks, and we've had to sort it out this week.
Yep. But I'm glad we're here and we're getting ready to go again.
We're here still loving Jesus. We'll put it that way.
Yep.
So we're going to just finish off what we had started last week. We were talking about the petition and praise. We've been working our way through 2 Kings chapter 4. And, last week we were talking about how she got to Elijah, and Elijah was going to send... Actually, it's Elisha. Elisha was going to send Gehazi back to her house, and she would not leave until the man of God was going to do it.
Yep. And
she was persistent with her petition to God. And, just how important it is. How is your persistence with your petition with God?
Mm-hmm.
Are you willing to hold on and not let go? Is God seeing that in you?
Is your petition like Daniel? I mean, he prayed for 21 days. The answer was sent already, but there was battle going on.
Yes.
And right now, by goodness, there's battle going on.
Yes.
We need to stay in prayer.
Yes. As we've already discussed, so often we are plagued with heavy agendas and distractions on every side. And by golly, we have felt that way this week.
Yep.
The purpose of this study is to help us focus on what really matters and shut the door to those things that hinder and oppose the will of God in our lives. We must shut out all that is wrong and bring in with us those things that are eternal. I work with teenagers, and teenagers have no focus beyond the now. Especially the younger ones, the younger grades, freshmen and sophomore, and it even leaks into juniors. Seniors start getting a beyond high school feel. They get senioritis, in the spring. But, they cannot see beyond the breakup, beyond the bad grade, beyond a teacher getting angry at them, beyond their parents getting mad. And they are some of the worst people for making permanent decisions over a temporary situation. Yep. But it's not just teenagers, because some adults, it leaks over into their life and they make a decision based on a temporary circumstance. And we have to focus on things eternal. The things that are around us right now, that we may be going through, they're temporary, and we have to focus our eyes on things that are eternal.
Yeah. Sometimes, we're making decisions concerning right now, like you were saying, and we need to be thinking about who we want to be in 10 years. Mm-hmm. What we want to have done in 10 years. Yeah. And, 5 and 10 year plans, are something we actually really need to look at, not only in our personal life, but what do we want to be doing in 5 to 10 years
exactly
with God? Do we want to still be just sort of in the fringes of the church, or do we want to be in some ministry, or what's going on in our life? Because I believe God's going to give you long-term goals.
Yes, exactly. Both this mother and the widow's sons were inside with them. Our families cannot feel they are shut out of our lives to accommodate a busy lifestyle. It doesn't mean that there are not other things of importance in your life, but never let your family feel as if they are not as important to you as the next thing on your to-do list. Yep. And, as parents, this is something that we really have to make sure that our family knows, our children know that they're a priority in our life, that they're important to us. So we're going to continue reading in our text, 2 Kings. We're going to look at verses 34 and 35. It says, "And he went up and lay on the child." This is Elisha. Elisha has come now to her house. She has laid her child on Elisha's bed, in the room that she's prepared, for when Elisha comes through there. And she shut the door. Well, now here's Elisha. He's going in. "And he went up and lay on the child and put his mouth on his mouth, his eyes on his eyes, and his hands on his hands. And he stretched himself out on the child, and the flesh of the child became warm. He returned and walked back and forth in the house, and again went up and stretched himself out on him. When the child sneezed 7 times, and the child opened his eyes."
Yep.
So 7 is God's complete number, if you didn't know that. So it's kind of symbolic that he sneezed 7 times. I believe there was a completeness to his healing. Yep. To me, these verses depict a powerful account of the intercessory warfare of Elisha over this child. I can only imagine his prayer as he walked back and forth in the house. Some of my most intimate times with God were experienced as I walked back and forth in the house. I would share some testimonies of God's amazing presence and revelation knowledge that he imparted to me in these times that I walked back and forth in the house as I prayed in his presence with a passionate petition in pursuit of him. Mm-hmm. My heart is rejoicing now as I reflect on some of those prayers. Now, for me, I'm not a walk back and forth praying type of person. I usually am sitting in my bed. That's where I've had some of my most intimate prayers with God. Just sitting in my bed, and I can remember having tear-stained pillows, as things just wash over me.
I am a walker.
You're a walker. He's the walker.
I'm the one that I come up here to the church to get ready for a message, or I come up here to pray, and I walk and pray, and I do laps around the church. I'm not really a pacer, but I do laps.
Yeah, I'm more of a at his feet kind of a person, and he's making rounds around the throne.
Your mom's a walker too, apparently.
Yes. Yeah, I knew that about her. I didn't know if she was going to say it or not, but I knew my mom was a walker too. It's interesting to me the way Elisha prayed. He literally covered the child with himself. Mm-hmm. How that depicts God's desire to cover every part of us. Yep. He wants nothing in us hurting or broken. He doesn't want to just repair portions of us. I love that. I wrote a text the other day on Facebook. It might have been a couple weeks ago. But if we are willing to give God all of the pieces of ourselves, He will make sense of it all. Mm-hmm. And so many times I feel like we are vulnerable and we hold back the very piece that can make all the difference in the world in our lives.
Yeah. One of the big things about this situation is it's not an open wound. It's not something that can be seen. Yeah. Through today's technology, we know that it was probably an aneurysm that happened, that he had a brain bleed.
Or a heat stroke or something like that because he was outside.
And, what was really amazing is, a lot of the times we're not hurt where we can see it. Mm-hmm. But since God wants to be in every part of us, He can still heal that hurt, remove that bitterness, yes, even though we can't see it and there's no physical signs of it.
But there's so many times when we hold back. Mm-hmm. We hold back parts of ourselves, as if God doesn't see it.
Yeah, really.
I mean, He knows anyway. He knows what's going on in your life, and He wants us to want Him. The same applies to His church, of which we are a part. Every part of the church is significant. Mm-hmm. Every ministry ordained of God in the church is important. All if it must be functioning properly, led by His Spirit, to be fully accomplishing successfully God's purpose. And this is one thing I truly remember about my father as a minister, because he would not give somebody a job in the church that he wasn't willing to do himself. And I mean literally, from cleaning toilets to mowing the lawn, my dad did every single part of the jobs that were in the church. And to him, all of it was a ministry of the church. And if he wanted somebody to do it, it wasn't that he was unwilling to do it, because he was.
Yep. And that's one thing that he stressed when we were around and with him. We need to be able to not look down on any job, because it's all the same in the kingdom. I mean,
exactly.
He said that John the Baptist, he will be, last, but yet he was the greatest in the kingdom. He was the precursor to Christ.
And he only had a 6-month ministry.
Yep. And, we have to realize that our ministry, his was 6 months, but he still pointed to Jesus even after Jesus came. And, it's one of those things that we have to focus on Christ. We have to continue to push forward. Crystal said that we had that death in the neighborhood yesterday, in the family, however you want to say it. And it just struck and sunk in so hard that politics is going to fade. Money will fade. Everything's going to fade away. The only thing that we are guaranteed is our relationship with Christ.
Yes.
And we need to turn and focus on that in such a way that we're walking it out daily. We're practicing what we preach. We do what we're supposed to do here. She had this lady in, 2 Kings chapter 4 had a problem. Mm-hmm. She went to the man of God with it. She would not let go of him until it was dealt with. But the thing is, it wasn't only her promise, but it wasn't her problem.
Yeah.
If God's promised it to you, You may think it's your problem, but it's still his promise, so he's going to take care of it.
I think, another thing, and I know we've talked about this over all this time, but she was persistent with God and nobody else, because she didn't talk to anybody else about what was going on in her life. She would only talk to the man of God, and she wouldn't stop till she got there. And I think so many times we stop along the way and we're talking to everybody else but the one person we need to be talking to.
Yeah, when we get there, we're
all talked out.
Yeah, and we're all like, oh, I need this, but the passions run out because you've recited it so much.
Exactly.
And, praying passionately and fervently before God is, what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to take everything to him first.
Yes.
Not, I've tried everything. She didn't try anything. She had the child in her lap. He passed away. She put him in the bed, closed the door. That was all she had.
And she spoke positive over her situation to anybody around her, and then she directly went for God. Mm-hmm. And this also reminds me, and maybe it's a mama thing, because we're going to be talking about two mothers here. Hannah in the Bible, when she prayed for a child, Hannah was, her petition was passionate before the Lord for a child, and not just any child. She wanted a man-child. Yep. And, sometimes it takes us mothers to really break through in praying for children. Mm-hmm. Anybody. Really.
I do believe that, because I do believe a mother's love is different than a father's love, because there's that connection that a father will never have. And at the same time, even when she got to, Elisha's feet, she's like, didn't I tell you not to do this if it's going to be taken away from me? And so she sort of threw it back in his face that this was his doing. And, sometimes I've come to God and I'm like, you've done this to us, because it's still his promise.
Yes.
It's not our problem. It's his promise.
Exactly.
And it might take a bit of testing, because we need the extra testimony to come with it. But I think sometimes we're given that test to see what we're going to do. Can God trust you with more?
Well, doesn't this sound familiar? I mean, in the New Testament, in Jesus, when we're talking about, things with him, he promised the disciples the other side. Mm-hmm. And yet a storm came and they got all afraid. Yep. And he told them they're going to make it to the other side. He prophesied their future. He was positive. And here they were, and it was like all of what they heard on the shore was just gone. Yep. And all they could see was this horrible storm. As you were talking about that, it came to my mind, they threw out everything they could to lighten the load. And that's like us trying to clean up our own lives. Trying to do it all ourselves.
And make heaven.
Yes.
Because until Jesus steps on board, it's still floundering. It's still going the same direction. Yes. It's going to sink.
Actually, no, I think it's me working.
Yeah, I was just making sure.
And I said, I told this girl, I said, you have the ability to be a good girl. Mm-hmm. And I said, you used to go to church. And she said, well, I still go to church. I went to church last night. And I said, well, did you learn anything last night? And she goes, well, I don't know, but I cried. And it was so sad to me to think that her concept of being at church is just to cry about it. But the thing is the thoughts that came to my head after that was, we can cry ourselves right into hell.
Yep.
We can cry all we want to, but unless we start making changes and we start moving in the direction toward God, nothing will change.
Yeah, I know, and that's, so many people forget that. So many people that, we're doing a good thing. We come to church, we feel guilty about it, or we feel convicted, we cry about it there. Yes. But then they get up and turn around and do the exact same thing.
Well, and that's what this woman did. She didn't even stop to cry about it. She didn't let it sink in. She immediately acted, and she went toward the man of God,
Yep.
which for her represented God. That's where she's just like, forget all this foolishness. I got to get there.
Yeah, and just without a doubt, we can't, we watched that video last night, that message, and it says, every time we come into a service, do we get up changed or not? I mean, are we going to literally make an effort to apply what we've heard and actually say, what is going on? Is it really relevant for today?
Yeah.
And, the preacher is preaching things that we need to know, we need to hear, because I believe every word that comes from a pastor is something from God. And it's just one of those things that we have to be focused on improving. And God's going to help us. The Holy Spirit's here to guide us. And, we just have to continue to remain focused.
All right. So, in order for the church to be whole and complete, we must be constantly overshadowed by His presence and operating in His love. This was another wonderful conversation I had this week about the gay and lesbian, people. I had an opportunity to tell some people that, we absolutely welcome gay and lesbian people at our church. They can come sit by me. They can sit in the front row. It won't bother me one bit. Mm-hmm. Because God loves people. And as God's people, we need to love people no matter what. And loving people is the only way to get them in with God.
Mm-hmm. And, God loves everybody equally. There's no deviation. There's no separation. But the first prayer He hears is the prayer of salvation.
Exactly.
I mean, God's not going to bless a life that you've created for yourself. Mm-hmm. Are your dreams actually God's purpose for your life? And, that's a hard question to really look at. And the man I heard ask that question said, if your dream comes from MTV or an outside source, I'm betting that it's not a desire of God.
So we're going to read Ephesians 4:15 through 16. It says, "Rather let our lives lovingly express truth. Enfolded in love, let us grow up in every way and in all things into Him who is the head, Christ. For because of Him the whole body, closely joined and firmly knit together by the joints and ligaments with which it is supplied, when each part is working properly, grows to full maturity, building itself up in love." Mm-hmm. And that is how the church is supposed to work. We're not called to judge one another. God wants us to love one another.
Yep.
So, that's really the only way you're ever going to reach people is to love. I can only imagine the joy Elisha felt when the child awakened. Mm-hmm. No doubt he could hardly contain his excitement. He knew and loved his family well, and he had known this child since birth. He immediately sent Gehazi to bring in the Shunammite woman. I imagine he was so anxious to see her receive her miracle. She had passionately petitioned God for this moment, and now her answer awaited her embrace. I love that.
Yeah, I'm like, she was promised something, and she had a miraculous pregnancy and birth, and now she's had another miracle off the same promise. And so it's just, we don't know how many things are lined up for us if we just follow what God has for us in the first place.
Yeah. So here's our next verse in 2 Kings 4:36 through 37. "And he called Gehazi and said, 'Call this Shunammite woman.' So he called her. And when she came in to him, she said, 'Pick up your son.' So she went in, fell at his feet, and bowed to the ground. Then she picked up her son and went out." I love this too, because she doesn't go immediately to, the miracle. She stops for a moment of worship.
Yeah, she doesn't immediately. And that's one thing I'm like, this shows that we're not supposed to just seek the hand of God. And we're not
Yes.
supposed to just go after the blessings of God.
Yes.
We're supposed to thank and praise the one who blesses us.
Exactly. As much as any part of the story, verse 37 amazes me. She had experienced such a traumatic turn of events this day. Her entire life changed in a moment. She had held her son, her promise, as he died in her arms. She had deliberately taken him and placed him on the bed of the prophet and shut the door. Then she set out on a mission. She had proclaimed in faith that all would be well. She had pursued the presence of God and petitioned him passionately at the feet of Elisha. She persuaded him to come back to her house. And then she had waited as Elisha had gone in and prayed. Now the door was opened to her, and she was called into her son. He was alive and well. All of her hopes and dreams were restored and alive again. Her beloved son was waiting for her loving embrace, and she was so eager to hold him and hug him again. But she came in where they were and first fell at Elisha's feet and worshiped God for her miracle. What a powerful moment we read in this verse. What a genuine heart of worship this mother demonstrated. She offered praise first, then picked up her son. No doubt her praise was powerful and pure in the eyes of God, and it was received and rewarded by him.
You know, this shows that even after the miracle of this child's birth, she didn't change.
No.
Because when she first went out and got the prophet and brought him into her house, then she made a place for the prophet.
Yes.
And she was making a place for God in her home.
Yes.
You know, this just shows that none of that changed. She still had a place for God,
She
and that
wasn't
child
out-
didn't take it.
She wasn't out to get just what she needed, because she truly had a relationship and a faith in God.
And this goes back to the set of priorities in our lives.
Yes.
You know,
Which we know from the beginning that her priorities were to have the presence of God in her house, because that was a priority to her.
And
Sorry.
and then she even went, I almost think that her husband could have said no. She would have built the room up there for him anyway. But he knew how much it meant to her. And I don't believe there was any fight. I think he just said, okay, we'll get on that.
Yep.
Pretty much. But it's just amazing to see that even after a blessing, she was still the same. And
Yes.
sometimes, you know, that's why God doesn't bless us with a lot of money, doesn't bless us with what we're asking for, because it'll change us.
Well, and this story reminds me of another New Testament story where Jesus heals the 10 lepers, and only one of them returns. And the key to that story is the one that returns is made whole. If you know anything about leprosy, people lose,
Pieces of
them
themselves.
of body parts. Their nose can be missing, an ear, a limb, fingers. They just look very,
Eaten up.
yeah, that's a good word for it. I was going to say maimed. But
It's
I'm like, maimed
dissolved.
isn't the right word.
Really.
Yeah, but the one that knew, had a gratitude. It wasn't just about the healing, but it was about the man that did the healing. He went back and he got even more than what he bargained for. He got made whole. All of the pieces that were missing were no longer missing. And I'm like, wow, there's such a statement in that.
Yeah, no, I can just see them. First, they start hollering a long way off because they're trying to make sure it is Jesus so they can approach him. Then they get to him and he says, go and present the offering that Moses said. And as they went, they were healed. And I'm like, I could just see there was one point that was just so far away from Jesus. Each one, as they passed that point, got healed. And just one of them, once he got healed, he turned around and ran back to Christ.
Exactly.
And, it's just one of those things that...
I think it's a reminder that as much as God will give us, there's always more He still has for us.
Mm-hmm.
We can never have too much, and we'll never have enough. So never stop seeking, never stop learning, never stop pursuing, never stop worshiping, because there's so much more that He has for us if we'll keep coming back. If we keep coming back, there's so much more He wants to give us.
Yeah, and it's not that God's going to come find you.
No, because it says what? Draw nigh to me, and I will draw nigh to you. God's already made the first move. We've talked about this before. He made the first move when He sent His Son to die on the cross. I mean, the ball is in your court after that. It's up to you to decide to become a Christian or not. And that's why after that, it's up to you to draw near, because He's already made the first steps.
Yeah, and He's looking for the ones that are worshiping Him in spirit and in truth.
Yes.
That come to Him and worship. And we have to have a place in our lives for God.
Yes.
We have to worship the blesser, not just the blessing. And we have to continue to worship and continue to have a positive outlook on life, even when we're going through the trial.
Exactly.
And because she could have just said, well, that was all that, I guess that's all that God had in store for me.
Well, you have to make up your mind. Is He the same God on my worst day as He is on my best day? Mm-hmm. And the answer is yes. God is still God no matter what you are going through, no matter what. So are you going to serve Him as much on your worst day as you do on your best day?
Yeah. I mean, just like Jesus, when He got crucified, He was still the same Jesus that walked on water. He was still the same Jesus that turned water into wine. He was still the same one that called forth Lazarus.
Yes.
No power had diminished. He just chose to give up His life so that we could live with Him forever.
Exactly. Wouldn't you have loved to have seen her when she picked up her son healed and whole? Let us never forget from where the answers and answered prayers come. Let us never forget the provider of the promise. Always remember to thank the giver of good things, for He is worthy. By and through Him alone are all things possible. I will make my praise powerful because my God is worthy and my heart is grateful. We're going to read Psalms 103. I want you to take in every word and meditate on it. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me. Bless His holy name. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all His benefits, who forgives all your iniquities, who heals all your diseases, who redeems your life from the pit and corruption, who beautifies, dignifies, and crowns you with loving kindness and tender mercy, who satisfies your mouth with good so your youth is renewed, is like the eagles, strong, overcoming, and soaring. That's Psalms 103, 1 through 5.
Yeah, you could just imagine the person that was writing that.
Yeah.
And, looking back on everything that God has done at that point in time in the Old Testament, and just even in that time frame where the ark had been brought back into the into the tabernacle and back into Jerusalem, and just praises going up constantly before God. Are we doing the same? I mean, we live in such an age where we have air conditioning. I mean, dear goodness, I'm thankful for that still today.
Especially where we live.
And, but we have to remember that everything has been done for us by God. We're walking a path that has been walked and laid out. It's not that we're predestined for a certain place. We have that decision.
Yes.
I actually believe that, like we've always said, there are three wills of God. You can make the right decisions.
Yes.
And, it's not a surprise to God which decision you're going to make.
He already knows.
But He wants the best for you. He wants you to go down the best path. He has paved it. He's shown you which direction.
And are you willing to take the best?
Yeah. Sometimes.
Are you going to settle?
She could have, the lady in the story could have settled.
She could have settled. What would settling be? She could have left him alone. She could have mourned the loss. She had a beautiful son for a short time. Thanks God. It wouldn't have meant she'd lose her salvation. Nothing would have said that. But that wasn't God's best for her.
No, and I think there's another lane that she could have gone out of that room on her way and stopped on the way and started talking to other people.
Yep.
Are we not going down to the...
And would it have changed anything? Well, we don't really know.
Are we, stopping and not going down to the altar because we're wondering what other people are going to say? I mean, do we have a need and we feel God move at that time and then we just give up on it?
Yes.
I mean, are we missing the mark because of others?
I like this. It says, God, give me a grateful heart. May I never forget your many benefits. I pray that my praise will always be powerful, for you are so worthy to receive it. And that's exactly what the Shunammite woman felt like. What a wonderful example this loving wife and mother gave us to follow. She gave us insight on being a true warrior. She fought the gates of hell and won. Mm-hmm. We can do the same when we follow her example. She made God's presence priority in her home and heart. She made her proclamation positive based on his word and promises. She made her pursuit proactive and was not passive about God's guidance in her life. She made her petition passionate as she prayed. She made her praise powerful because she recognized God was worthy of her gratitude. How often do we just think, God, you're worthy? I mean, do you ever just sit and think about the majesty of who God is? I do.
And where else you could have been?
I do.
I mean, because I believe that there's a whole other decision you could have made, a whole other place you could have gone. Because, we're in the will of God over here.
Yes.
But there's that one section off that you were in sin and you could have stayed there. Mm-hmm. The minister last night in the message was talking about who's controlling you. Is self controlling you? Is that flesh empowered person controlling you, or is it the spirit empowered person?
Yep.
And right now we have decisions to make every day. Are we going to let flesh win, or are we going to let the spirit win in the competition? And one of the things he said last night was, I wish somebody would have told me the battle never ends. You can be a Christian forever, for as long as you are. And every morning when you wake up, that battle begins again. The battle between flesh and spirit begins every day. That's why we have to crucify it every day.
Yeah, it's true. I believe even in the moments of her greatest pain, peace surfaced in her spirit. Maybe you don't know the difference. Maybe you think, well, I think I'm being led by the Spirit, but I don't know. One way that you can always tell the difference between flesh and spirit is emotions. Mm-hmm. If your emotions are what's running you, it's not the Spirit.
Yep.
Because the Spirit is not emotional. It's not. And sometimes it's not even logical.
No.
Because the Spirit will ask you to do things and you'll think, well, that sounds weird. Why should I do it? And Gary tells a story about a woman that felt like she had to go into a gas station supermarket and stand on her head. Well, that's not logical. That doesn't make any sense. But she did it. She obeyed. And the thing was, an atheist was standing at the front saying, the only way I believe in God is if a woman came in here and stood on her head.
Yep. I mean, that's the whole thing. We're supposed to be led by the Spirit.
Yes.
We are told in the Bible who we are.
Yes.
We're not, we're told how we're supposed to feel. We're supposed to have joy. We're supposed to have peace.
The joy of the Lord is my strength.
Yeah, I mean, there are things that we are feeling every day. We can feel chaotic. We can feel all this thing.
And the thing is your whole world around you can literally, when everybody else is looking at you, it can be to what they think is falling apart, but you have a peace. because you're in the center of God's will. You're in the center of his plan. And it's going to be okay. You're going to get to the other side because he's promised us the other side. And, when you get there, that's all in God's timing anyway. Our neighbor got there yesterday. And, I might get there tomorrow. I might get there tonight. Who knows? And that's okay because he's promised me the other side, whatever that means. Wherever that is for me, it's promised. It's there. And, we're gonna get through stuff. We have to refocus our thinking as Christians. We have to quit coming to the end of the world thinking about, how things are going on, especially like this election. Whoever is president, Jesus Christ is Lord. It doesn't matter. And God has promised us the other side of it. And, I'm not going to worry about it. I choose not to worry about it. It's, not worth it.
I was scrolling through Facebook, and that's a good or a bad thing. I don't know which. I was scrolling through Facebook, and there up pops a picture of this lady, and she's holding a sign that says, "No knee shall bow," and it has the satanic symbol on it. And I'm like, that's exactly what we're fighting.
Yes.
That's exactly what is going on in this world today. They believe that there isn't a God. They believe that they control what happens to them. And God said you do to a point, but you still have a master who you're serving.
Exactly.
And the wages, all that work you're doing is going to come up, and your penance or your payments.
Well, and our 16-year-old daughter, she figured it out because we had, a serious conversation about, who you serve. And she goes, so basically you're telling me my choices are God or Satan. There is really no self-serving.
No.
And I'm like, well, when you put it that way, yeah, you really don't serve self. Because in essence, if you think you're serving yourself, you're really serving Satan. Because
he just doesn't have to worry about you as much.
You're either in God's will or you're not. You're either on your way to heaven or you're not. It's really black and white. There is no gray when it comes to these decisions. It's just that simple. If you think you're going to do it your way, you're doing it your way because that's Satan's way of doing it. It's just the way it goes. And this part though, her faith had taken hold and Satan lost his grip.
Yep.
She had to shut the door throughout the process of this entire battle, but I believe she kept her focus and supernatural peace prevailed throughout her dark times. I am a person, and Gary can vouch for this because we've been married for 15 years. When we get mad, I'm a door slammer. And I tell you what, it feels good to slam that door. That helps me to get over things, that action of just slamming the door. And I tell you what, I have absolutely no qualms about shutting the door in Satan's face and cutting him off from my life. It would feel good to do it, to shut the door on distraction and to shut the door on his scheme, to just pow.
Sitting here, I'm thinking, how many doors did she have to shut in her mind? How many thoughts came up that were trying to compete against what she believed? Yeah. And what she thought that God was about to do. And that's just like us. We have to take those things into captivity. And captivity means throw it in a cell and shut the door.
Shut the door.
And, we have so many things bombarding us. Like I just said, Facebook. We have Instagram, the things I don't even get on.
Twitter.
Twitter and TikTok. Oh, goodness. All this stuff is competing for our attention. Is competing to control us. Because you're letting that thing into your mind.
Yep.
You're letting that thing in, and you don't know what's going to stem from it. You don't know the thoughts that you're going to have about these things.
Yep.
And we're lacking, and we're letting go of the actual Bible and the actual reading of the Word and seeing what's going on with God. We're not focusing on what God has said.
Yes.
We're not focusing on what He has promised us in His Word. It's just one thing after another that's competing for our attention. And if we're not focusing in on the right things, it will divert us from that perfect will of God.
Yes, that's so true. She looked to where she was going and not where she was. She looked at where she was going and not where she was. And that goes back to, we have to look at things eternal. Looking at things eternal means that we're looking at where we're going and not where we are right now. That is making decisions based on the long term and not making decisions based on now. Even though she had to walk out the valley, I believe she knew it would ultimately be temporary. And this produced peace that passed understanding. It never says that she stopped and cried, or she was upset or distraught. It really never says that. According to the story and what we read, this woman was cool-headed. She knew what to do. She knew what she had to do to get there. And then when she got there, she knew what she had to do to get the man of God back at her house. I mean, this woman should have been a 911 operator. She was cool under pressure.
Well, yeah, I'm thinking about Psalms, the 23rd Psalms. She walked
through the valley.
And then back.
Back through the valley.
She walked through the valley of the shadow of death, grabbed God, and brought him back.
Exactly.
To where she was, where she needed. Today is just so hard to stay focused.
Oh my goodness. There's just so many distractions for us today. I mean, I sat in a classroom where, in the high school, they make the kids put their phones up, and it's like they can't hardly stand it sometimes. Teachers, they'll have them finish their work, and they'll just be sitting there, and they're not allowed to get their phone, and they don't even know what to do. It's like they have ghost hands with phones. They're just sitting there like this, and there's no phones in their hand.
The art of doodling has gone away.
The other day, one of the teachers okay, you can get your phones. And she barely looked up, and the kids already had them. She goes, you already got your phone? Like that fast? But it's a distraction. Mm-hmm. They can't stand not to have them. And it's pulling our kids away because it's distracting them.
There's actually an anxiety disorder linked with not having your phone.
Yeah.
And
then there's things like you have ghost vibrations when you don't, because our phones are controlling us.
Yeah, there are people who actually cannot leave the house without the phone.
I remember when I was a kid, if someone called the house, you didn't know about it until you got home.
Yep, and then we had the answering machine.
And then if you were lucky, you had an answering machine.
Yep, and then, we were talking about the phones last night. I remember when you had to pick up the receiver and put it on a device so that your phone or your computer could connect to the internet.
You're old. I'm not that old.
I was really aging myself last night, but it's like, are we really better off?
I don't know. She experienced his perfect peace in the process of it all. This is Psalms 107, 28 through 30. It says, then they cry out to the Lord in their trouble, and he brings them out of their distresses. He calms the storm so that its waves are still. Then they are glad because they are quiet. So he guides them to their desired heaven. You may be in verse 28, but verse 29 follows, and verse 30 is promised. Look beyond where you are to where you are going. His peace will be yours even in the battle. So that's all. That ends this week. Next week we're going to be talking about prevailing peace.
But that's one of the greatest promises, that his peace will be with us.
Amen.
Because our peace doesn't last that long.
And we need peace right now. Peace right now in our world is few and far between.
Yep. And I was just thinking, when we can lay down in our bed at night with the kids in bed asleep, and you have that peace. But the kids are going to wake up. And that peace is going to be gone. So, we need to find the peace that God has talked about, that's going to still us in our innermost part. And so,
I'll let you pray.
That's fine. So, you want me to actually pray this, or you want me to pray?
I was going to say that we never end a live without giving people an opportunity to know the Jesus that we've been talking about this whole time.
To find the peace that we've been talking about.
Yes, the peace. We've talked about peace a lot through this one. So here's your opportunity to have the peace.
Yeah. If you don't know Christ, just repeat this prayer after me, and He will become Lord and Savior of your life. So, dear God, I know I am a sinner, and I ask for your forgiveness. I believe Jesus Christ is your Son. I believe that He died for my sin, and that you raised Him to life. I want to trust Him as my Savior and follow Him as Lord. From this day forward, guide my life and help me to do your will. I pray this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Well, we're so happy that you joined us. And thank you for being patient with us as we try to figure out new work schedules, new lives. We're no longer under quarantine where everybody's off and home and bored and you just pop on anytime you want. Now we're back to kids' schedules, our schedules.
No longer furloughed.
Gary's got him a new job. He's working dispatch at the police department, and really feels like God has opened a door there for him. So I may talk Gary into maybe a early brunch special on Saturday this week, and just doing our live on Saturday, and maybe around 11. Does that sound good?
Well, I get to sleep a little bit.
We can try to complete our Shut the Door series this week. I think it's our last two. Our last two will be this week. So, and I think Thursdays is going to be our day. So our Tuesdays are going to be moved to Thursdays, and our Sundays may be moved to Saturday, but
we'll figure something out.
We'll figure it all out, and we'll keep y'all up on it.
Well, at least they'll be able to watch later if they can't watch now.
Yes, and if you can't watch it live, if your schedule is just as crazy as ours,
which it probably is,
just watch us later. It'll still be there. And Mark is working again. Yay, Mark! Woohoo! All of our men folk are getting off layoffs and furloughs, and we're so thankful.
Yeah, and if you have a prayer request, you can put it on this live, or you can send it to
private message.
If you need a Bible, let us know. And God bless. We'll see you next time we're on, as far as we know. So
Saturday at brunch.